Thanks, Anas, for the opportunity. Hello, everyone on the meetup today. My name is Bala Nair. I'm a VMware specialist solution architect for the EMEA region. I'm based in Dubai. It's been 8 months for me with AWS. Prior to that, I was working for VMware as a solution engineer based again in Dubai. I've been around the region for quite some time now, and prior to VMware, I was mainly focusing on backup recovery solutions and disaster recovery solutions. So that's been my background. So I moved into AWS in this role, and I find this very interesting. What I'm able to do is because most of the customers I deal with are customers who have their own data centers. They have a lot of legacy applications. They all want to move to the cloud. So the solution that I work on and I represent within AWS is actually a great fit for those type of customers who want to move their workloads to cloud, to AWS, but they don't have a huge learning curve, and that basically helps them, embrace this journey quite easily, right? So as you see in the topic today, the VMC on AWS is the fastest path to the cloud for any customer who's running VMware on premise. Yeah. So I will start just with some what you call just so that you're not under any false expectation here. So I'm not a data analytic specialist or anything of that sort. The objective here, or in today's session, what you will take away is, if you are having a VMware environment on-prem and you move that to the cloud, among all the other benefits that you will get is the easy integration with the native services that's available on AWS, right? So without having to change a lot, without having to re-architect or re-platform your application or workloads, you will be able to seamlessly access some of the native services that are available on AWS. So you will basically take away from today's session is how this is done, how you'll get an overview of what this VMware Cloud on AWS, means, how is it built and how is it configured, how does it connect into the AWS side of things. We'll also see today in the demo how you can move virtual machines that are running on-prem to the cloud environment, to VMC, without having to change anything, right? So it's basically a live vMotion that I will show you how this is done, and we'll retain the IP address and the host name. Everything will remain the same. So this is some of the things that you will see today. And once that is done, then we will see how you can hook the workload that we've moved from an on-prem environment to AWS, and then hook it up with AWS Glue, and then run some SQL query with Athena, and then visualize the same thing with QuickSight, while we have put the data into an S3 bucket, creating a data lake, right? So that's my session today, which I will cover. So is that something that is in line with your expectation, or were you expecting a deep dive on the data analytics? If that was the case, then I'm very sorry. That's not me. That will be somebody else from the data analytics teams who will be able to help you out. All right. So Anas, can we start? I'm done with the intro. So
yeah, for sure. So go
is
ahead.
that do other people introduce, or we just continue?
I don't know if anyone want to introduce themselves and talk about maybe their companies or their work. So we've got Ajmal.
Yeah, hi, good evening. Good evening, guys. Can you hear me?
Yeah, hi
Yes, sir.
everyone.
Yeah, yeah. First of all, it's my first time here, and it's such an amazing group, to see all you guys discussing these topics. And particularly, I'm very much interested in the VMware Cloud, uh, working on AWS, right? Because in my company recently, we were actually thinking about that, right? So I think this should be very helpful for me. And going with the intro that Bala gave, this is exactly what I'm looking for this meeting. Okay, so I think this should be very helpful. And Bala, if possible, is it possible? Can you also talk about the VMware Tanzu a little bit, just to cover because why actually I'm interested in that because I can see that there's so much scope over there when we have it on the AWS that we can have end-to-end service running on the VMware and on the
Mhm.
AWS infrastructure. And as you said, we can integrate that with the other services as well. So
That's right.
just an overview, if you can give about that, that would be really helpful. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah, if we can park it to the end, like once we're done with the session, I can briefly touch upon that. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Ajmal.
Thank you,
That was
Asma.
really reassuring, and that was nice. So I'm so happy that at least one person is keen to learn more about that, and I hope everybody else will also gain a lot from this today. So
Sure.
what we're going to do today is based on this architecture. So what you see here is two environments, right? So one is the VMware Cloud environment. So what VMware has done, and I will go into bit details on what this service is all about. So what VMware has done is that VMware owns their own VPCs, and they take bare metal infrastructure, bare metal instances from AWS, and then they load the VMware stack, right? So if you're familiar with the VMware ecosystem, you have the hypervisor, which is vSphere, then you have the network hypervisor, which is NSX, and the storage hypervisor, which is vSAN. They bundle all of this together, which they call as vCloud Foundation, and then they dump it or configure and install it on top of these AWS bare metal instances. And then they provide this as a managed service to any end customer. So as a customer who's so used to building their own, buying their own hardware and storage, and then racking, stacking them up inside the data centers and configuring the VMware stack on that, this becomes very easy, as now they can just consume this as a service, and everything is done, managed, operated, and maintained by VMware on the cloud using the AWS bare metal infrastructure. So once this is instantiated, what this service does, it creates a connection to the native AWS services using an ENI, right? So people who you're from the AWS background know what an elastic network interface is. That basically hooks on to the bare metal instances using the NSX Edge. So NSX Edge is a virtual construct again that is installed on the VMC side. And once this connection is done, the customer will then have a direct 25 gig network into the AWS backbone. So using this, then we can access any service. So as you can see, we will be using Glue, which is basically the data transformation tool. We'll use that to extract the data from a database that is sitting on top of the VMC environment. So when I say a database, in this scenario, I will have a MySQL database which has a dummy data inside that regarding, I've taken COVID, data set from Kaggle, and then populated the database, and then the glue will basically pull that data into the data catalog, and then we can use Athena to run SQL queries on the S3 data lake, or even use QuickSight to draw insights from the Athena. So that's the architecture of my lab on which I'm going to be showing the demo. And this is basically what we're going to do today, right? So we'll have a MySQL instance. This is a virtual machine which will be running on the VMware Cloud environment. And then we basically will set up a catalog using a crawler that the Glue provides us. And then we'll run that to populate an ETL job and populate the S3 bucket, right? Once that is done, we'll run another crawler to basically change the format and make it compatible to run Athena queries on that. And we'll pull the data again from the same data catalog. And then once this is done, we can then connect QuickSight to that and then use the QuickSight to draw some meaningful data out of that. Now, if the customer was to do this today on-prem, this is a full-fledged BI deployment, right, on-prem. Now with VMC and the power of AWS native services, we make it very, very easy and seamless, as you'll see. And all the components that I've shown you on the VPC, the green VPC, these is all serverless, right? So basically they don't have to manage or maintain any infrastructure to run this environment, right? So that is the demo that we have that I have built for you today. Okay, so I'll go into each one of those just for people who don't have an idea of what each one of those components does, right? And for that we just need to understand why this is so important, right? Because we know that data volumes are increasing, right? And they're increasing at an unprecedented rate. And we've seen data grow from, in my lifetime alone, I've seen customers growing the data from gigabytes to terabytes to now even petabytes, right? So this traditional on-prem, data analytic approach is becoming very difficult for customers to handle these data volumes, right? And that's precisely because they don't scale well enough and they're too expensive. The next that we hear from companies all the time as they're looking to extract more value from their data, but they somehow struggle to capture and then store and then analyze all the data that's generated by the modern and the digital businesses. So as the data grows and it's coming from different sources, it's increasingly becoming diverse, and we need to have a mechanism to securely access and analyze this by a number of applications, and not just the applications but by many different types of people who will need access to this data. So against this backdrop of this increasing data volumes and the desire for customers to get the right data to the right people, right? We need to be, addressing this in a very different way, right? So if you look at what's happening over the last number of years, the customers have accumulated so much of data, and a lot of this data lives in different silos, right? And in the example that we're going to see today, we're going to be moving a MySQL database running on a VM. Right now, imagine a big customer environment. There could be hundreds or thousands of such virtual machines with data sitting on each one of them, right? So it'll be really hard to do analytics when the data is stuck in different silos, right? And this could cause multiple problems. The data needs to be given to different workloads, must have to be split, and is normally split across this multiple silos, not sitting in one place. And the silo where the data lives might not meet the right performance or the price requirements for a given workload, right? So the silo may require additional management, security, authorization approaches, right? And that basically, again, increases the operational costs and risk. So customers are looking for a very high scalable, available, secure, and flexible data store or a data lake, right? Now imagine this, having to build this on-prem, it just could be like, it could be very, very difficult because They have to store all the structured, unstructured data, using different format, with the right kind of tagging in a central and searchable catalog. Not only they need to store this data, they also need to be run multiple analytical services against this data, right? And they need to be able to move data between these, the data lake and these services in all directions, from inside out or from outside in and from around the outside. And then they need to build a governance across all the data and the services to simplify the securing, simplify security, simplify management and monitoring of this data, right? And obviously, all of this needs to come at a low cost for them without having them to compromise on their scale and the performance of the analytics, right? So in AWS, we call this the modern approach for the data lake architecture, right? So by that, what do we mean is to help the customer build a modern data architecture that allows them to rapidly scale the data lake, right? The scalable data lake, to rapidly build that, and use a broad and a deep collection of purpose-built data services that provide the performance that they require for use cases such as the one that I will demonstrate today, like to build an interactive dashboard, or to do log analysis on all the different logs that they come, or even to do big data processing or data warehousing and so on, right? And what they want to do is to enable themselves to easily move the data between the data lake and a purpose-built data service, right? So not just keep it for one particular use case, but use it for multiple use case. They also want We also help the customer by using this data lake, the lakehouse architecture, is to set up the governance and compliance in a unified way so they can secure, monitor, and manage whoever is accessing this data, right? And we as AWS want to provide the customer, to the choice to use the right cloud service that gives them the low cost without having to compromise on scale. So we call this modern cloud-based analytical architecture, the lakehouse architecture. It's not just about integrating the data lake and your data warehouse, but it's about connecting the data lake, the customer's data warehouse, and all the purpose-built services, into one whole coherent system. So let's look at how this looks on AWS, right? So it's all starts. So I have this joke that everything begins and ends on S3 with AWS. So S3 is where it all begins, and customers who have been on AWS have been building these data lakes on S3 longer than any other cloud provider today, right? And if you look about it, more data lakes are running on AWS than anywhere else. And with using of Athena now, that's you can run an interactive query service to analyze all the data, right? So data that's stored on S3 can be queried using Amazon Athena using normal SQL query language. So in addition to the data lake, customers also need purpose-built database and analytic services like EMR, Amazon Elasticsearch Service, and Redshift to ensure that they're using the right tool for the job to get the right performance and scale at the lowest possible cost, right? And to move the data between these systems, we use what is called as AWS Glue, right? So you can take data like you will see today. We'll take the data from the MySQL database on-prem and put it onto S3, and then we will transform that data in such a way that Athena can run the queries on that, right? So that's a whole portfolio. But today, what we're going to do is we're just going to focus on this portion of the lakehouse architecture, right? Where we'll focus on Glue, the S3 component, or the data lake where the data resides, and Athena. And also we'll touch upon the quick site, which will be used to do the visualization of the data, right? Little bit on S3. S3 is the best place, as we know, to build the data lake because it has unmatched durability, availability, and scalability. When it comes to security, compliance, and audit capabilities, it's the best. And what it does, it provides the very fast performance at the lowest cost it's possible, right? And we have now the most ways a customer can bring their data in, and so many partner integrations that it makes it the best place to create your data lake, right? And among some of the unique capabilities of S3 include storing the customer data in independent data centers across 3 availability zones within a single AWS region, and automatically replicating data between any regions regardless of the storage class, right? And also with the built-in capabilities to do lifecycle management of the data. There's a lot that's available on S3, which makes it the most popular choice for data lakes. Then when we talk about Glue, it's a serverless data integration service, which makes it very easy to prepare the data for analytics or for machine learning or even for application development, right? Glue, as you will see in the demo, will provide all the capabilities that are required for data integration, so you can gain insights and put your data to use within minutes rather than having to take months. And then we talk about Athena. It's, again, as I said earlier, it's an interactive query service that makes it easy to analyze the data directly in S3 using standard SQL statements. It's also serverless, so there is no infrastructure that you need to manage. And with Athena, there is no need for complex ETL to prepare your data for analytics, and it's the most results are delivered within seconds. So if you are having some basic SQL skills, you can use this to quickly analyze large scale data sets in S3. And you are only paying for the queries that you actually run, and you can easily see how much each query is costing, right? So it's, again, based on a use, whatever you're using to do that stuff, right? And finally, the last thing that we will do is we will use QuickSight, which is, again, as I said earlier, as a serverless and as a serverless service, and it seamlessly scales from tens of users to thousands without any infrastructure management or capacity planning, right? A QuickSight, it provides the benefits of all the modern interactive self-service BI solution with capabilities that are embedded in it, like the embedded dashboards, and make it easy to use. And again, it's a pay per session pricing where customers will only pay when the users actually use the dashboards or the results or the reports. Sorry. So those were the 4 services that we will see on the native AWS side. And now let's look at the VMware Cloud on the AWS environment, right? So in here, you see that on the left, you have the customer data center, which is running VMware infrastructure. And then what we do here is we build the SDDC stack, right? The SDDC stands for software defined data center. And it is basically connected to the on-prem environment, building that single pane of glass where the customer can seamlessly manage both these environments together. After that, what we do is we put a high throughput, low latency private access to all the AWS services. And that is how simple it is, and I will walk you through that, how we spin up the SDDC on the cloud. And once that is done, you basically have, one pane of glass and access to all the APIs that are available on premise and the cloud. So it basically is a way for customers to get onto AWS because it is running on top of the global infrastructure. Today, a VMC as a service is available on 17 regions globally. And once you are running your workloads on the VMware Cloud on AWS environment, you basically have access to all the native services on the AWS side, right? And you will access them using that ENI link that is available when the service is instantiated. So as I said earlier, this is purely for customers who are existing VMware customers, right? It is not for somebody who's wanting to build new workloads on the cloud, right? This is not for customers who are building new applications in the cloud. This is for customers who have VMware on-prem, who have invested heavily, both in terms of infrastructure and also in terms of the people and skills that they have. So this is mainly a service for them who are invested in VMware, right? So what this provides you is a SDDC that is delivered as a service on AWS, right? And because of this, that the customer has a VMware on both sides, you basically will get the workload portability, right? So I don't know how many of you have tried moving workloads. When I say workload, it's basically a virtual machine from on-prem to AWS, right? Even there are a lot of tools available, but again, that it all comes with its own challenges and complications and risks. With this solution, literally we eliminate all the risk and we make it so easy to do it that it's the customer won't even know that they're actually moving to AWS because it's the same interface that they will see on both sides. So that's the thing I was saying, consistency and familiarity of the VMware technologies, right? And they have, and that's something that the third thing that we'll demonstrate today is how they will be able to directly access all the native AWS services. And this environment can be used for building your, running your existing, the customer applications, be it databases, whatever is certified on VMware on-prem will run on that. And as one of our members was asking earlier about Tanzu and stuff like that, this is again another platform for those customers to onboard their cloud native applications, right? I mean, running containers and those kind of containerized applications and virtual machines on this hub, right? So this is an overview of all the components that we have in the demo today. So let me go into the demo. So just to remind, this is the architecture. So I will try to take my time to explain to you each one of these components. And then what we will see in the demo is basically this, right? So we'll connect to the MySQL database using JDBC connection using the crawler. We'll populate the data catalog with the metadata. We'll run an ETL job. We'll pull this data and put it in S3. Then we'll run another crawler to basically populate the data catalog with the new format that's ready for Athena to go and run the queries on. And then finally, we will see the output on QuickSight. Okay. With that, let me stop this and then I will. So I have stopped sharing now, right, Anas?
Yes.
I want to show
Share
you.
your desktop.
Can we share two screens in Zoom? Or I can just select the desktop. I think that's better, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm sharing this desktop now. Can you see this?
Yes, we can see your desktop.
Right. So that's my Windows console. You can see that.
Yeah, as well.
This is so guys, because the way our lab is set up, in order for me to access my AWS environment, I have to do it through my Mac, and because we use something called ISENGuard, and that's our internal lab access that we have. And in order to use the VMC environment, I have to go through a jump box. Okay, so that's the jump box. So don't bear with me when I'm switching console. So when I come here, this is where I'm doing all the native AWS stuff. And when I'm on the Windows console, this is where I will be doing all the VMC related stuff. Okay.
Yep.
So we have three environments here, right? So one is my simulated on-prem vCenter. This is where I'm running the source VM, and which we will move to the cloud. And if I take you here, that's basically the VMware Cloud on AWS Console. That's where we actually come and create the SDDCs. Okay. And let me log in here so that we don't have to do that again.
Bala, your screen is off.
Yeah, I just switched off because I just
Yeah.
realized that I was exposing the password.
All right.
But I think it's already there now. So
That's fine. It's not the first time.
right. So okay, here we are.
Yes.
So this is the VMware Cloud on AWS. Okay, and if you come here, basically that's where you will spin up your SDDC. Now, for people who don't know, as I said earlier, SDDC is a software defined data center. So you come here, you have your login and you have access. You come here, you click on create an SDDC. So you select the region that you want to. So you have all these different regions from where you can choose. You can choose any region depending on where your AWS infrastructure is. So because that's where your connected VPC will go into. Just for the demo here, I will show you Stockholm. And if you choose multi-host, then you have a choice of two types of hosts. So either you use the i3.metal, which basically gives you this configuration of 36 cores and 512 gig of RAM and 10.3 terabyte, or you choose if you are requiring more storage, you will choose a slightly higher configuration, right? So for this purpose, I'll just choose this and I'll just say Meetup. And you can specify for the first, you can go from 2, 3, 4. So, and then you can keep adding more hosts to that. So for this purpose, I'll just select 2. right? And when I click next, this is where I will select so because this is a demo, it's already pre-selecting the account to which I'm going to be connected. Remember the ENI that was shown. So this is what will happen when I select this account. You see there's, because it's constantly being used by so many people, you have all these drop down accounts, but you will basically, what it will do is it will go and run a cloud formation stack, go create the network, rules and access, and hook it to the VPC that you will select now, right? So once I click on next, it will tell me to choose a VPC and then basically choose a subnet, and that's it, right? So that's how this, it will go and create the ENI over this VPC. And once that is done, I just need to select a management subnet for the VMware workload, the management VMware workloads. If I leave it default, it just lets it be, right? And then I confirm and acknowledge this, and I click on deploy. So that's how easy it is to spin up a VMware environment in the cloud now, right? So it takes, in a real scenario, it will take roughly 2 hours to do this thing. But because we are doing the demo, it takes a few minutes. So we will come back to this in a bit, but I'm just giving you a high level idea on how you will spin up the SDDC. So it's as simple as that. And once this is done, we will not be using this. We're going to be using the demo lab SDDC alpha for our demos, right? So to do that, I want to just show you the on-prem vSphere environment as well. This is again a simulated environment where we have, simulated the on-prem where we have a vCenter with some host, and it's running some virtual machines for us, which we can play around with. Right, so you can see the screen. Let me show you what I'm going to do here now, right? So I have these folders, right? So each one of us, our SAs, have a folder, and I have my folder here. So I'm going to pick one of these VMs and show you how we can move it seamlessly. And please remember this IP address. So, we'll maintain the same IP address when we move it to this environment over here, right? So we will move it to this folder, which I'm calling it CX demos. As you can see here, it is empty. Yeah. So there's no VM over here. What we're going to do is we're going to move this VM from the on-prem simulated on-prem environment to the SDDC, which is the demo lab alpha alpha SDDC on cloud, right? So how do we do this, right? So in order to do this, we use a component called HCX, right? Now HCX is a tool which helps us to do these migrations, which is called as the hybrid cloud extender. Now with this, we can do what we call as site pairing. So as you can see here now, we have paired the VMC lab with each one of these SDDCs. So this is the pairing that I'm using, and you can see there's got one interconnect between these two environments. So as you saw in the dashboard, they're all in the North Virginia region. So it just shows you the map where it is located. Yeah. But if it was located somewhere else, then you will see that there is a link like going like this from that country to the other country. And once that site pairing is done, we do what we call as the network extension. As I said earlier, we can now stretch layer 2 networks from on-prem to the cloud. So when a customer moves the virtual machine, they literally don't have to change their IP address or host name. Everything will will remain the same. While this is happening, let's go let's take a look here and show you the actual network to which it is. Okay, so this is the network that is that the on-prem environment is extended to, and I will show you here in the SDDC. If you go and look at the network segments, it will have the same IP range that is available on-prem. And this is purely used to host the segments or the VMs that are moving from the segments that are, so you'll see that it has the same subnet that is available on-prem. Okay, so this is the alpha one, and here you can see that this is the network that we have extended, right? And it's extended from on-prem to the cloud. So now let's do it and click on migration and start a migration. So what I want to do is migrate one of the VMs that I have identified to the cloud environment, right? So first I have to choose what's the remote site connection where I want to migrate that virtual machine to. So that's where I want to do, which is the alpha SDDC. And here I'll go and choose inside my lab folder. I'm going to choose the one that I want to do, which is on-prem, and I'll select this one and I'll add. Yalla. I hope as they say, the demo gods are, kind enough so nothing breaks. And so yeah, so now I have to choose where I'm going to put it on the destination side, right? So I will put this on the compute resource pool. Select that. I'll specify a destination folder so that we know exactly where to look for when this virtual machine moves. So I'm going to put this in this folder, HCX demos. I will use the storage, which is the workload data store. I'll keep the format as the same, even though I have options here now to change it to thin provisioning, all that, but I'll just keep it the same. And this is very important, right? The migration profile. Now, a lot of customers want to do this online, but then not every workload has a requirement to do what you call as a non-disruptive or a zero downtime migration, right? So if they don't have that requirement, then they can go for bulk or replicated assisted vMotion, where there is a certain amount of downtime. But for this demonstration, we'll go with vMotion. We can even use a schedule to do that switch over, right? So it will do it at a particular time. Just so that nothing is stopping us, we will remove the snapshots and the ISO images that are mounted on that, and just let's validate that. Okay, so validation, you can proceed, but it's just giving me a warning, and it's very typical of our lab. So it will overcommit the data store, which is fine. I'll go, click on go, and then close this. And then let me come and show you this one. So here you go. Let's go. All right. So the migration now is started, right? It takes roughly 4 to 5 minutes. So as you'll see, first it will do a sync, and then it will do a vMotion to that. So we will come back to that in a bit, while I just show you, and we look for where it's going to land. It's going to land on this folder. So when we come back, it should come and land here. So what we've done now is we've we've triggered a live vMotion from an on-prem environment to the cloud, right? And the solution comes with built-in security and network virtualization. So as you can see, we can create VPN connections over here. We can do NATing on that. We can do transit connect, and I will show you that on the AWS side where I have connected this to a transit gateway. There's a built-in firewall for this. We can do the gateway firewall. So this is like where the compute gateway and the management gateway, this is where we are saying you can access the vCenter, you can access the HCX from anywhere or certain IP addresses. And we also got the distributed firewall. So for people who are familiar with AWS terminology, so this is your, think of this as the NACL and this as the security group, okay? So that's the, in simple terms, that's what we do. And you can create groups, you can, define the services, and you'll see all your virtual machines that are in the different segments over here. We also have a support for, where you can assign, you can request for elastic IPs and then assign it over that. And then you also support the direct connect, where we can connect to the on-prem environments using the direct connect. So as you saw earlier, we have two direct connects going to the on-prem environment. So any questions on this so far, guys?
You can type your questions in the chat if you want as well.
So as you can see, this is still deploying, but it's almost done, I think, because we selected two hosts and all that. This is just a dummy setup. So you can see that how easy it was to set up this thing, right? And it even gives you a dummy vCenter and a dummy vCenter URL and everything, right? So in summary, you got two hosts with 1 terabyte of memory, and that's because you chose an i3, right? And this is where you will go and say, I want to add a new cluster, I want to do a DRS, so EDRS. So again, for people who are familiar with on-prem environments, right, you always have to pre-provision hosts and storage for both for redundancy and for extra growth. Here you don't have to do all that because it is in the cloud. So if anything goes wrong, then it's automatically taken care of because it is a service, right? So let's go back and see what's the status of. So it's almost it's switching over. If I come back to this place, I should be seeing, yeah. So I can already see that this virtual machine has come from on-prem and it's here. And you will be able to see that it has the same IP address over here, right? So that's how this thing is done. So now let's do our demo for the integration, right? So for that, I'm going to use another VM that's already sitting here. It is having this IP address because sitting on a different subnet. So just keep that in mind because I will be using this in the JDBC connection. And I'm going to show you this from the, I'm going to do a remote desktop into this Windows VM to see how, and to show you this database using the SQL workbench before we go into the AWS native, console. So can you see where is my, I think it's here. Sorry guys, I'm missing my Windows screen. Yeah, I was there, sorry. So let's log into the COVID-19 app. So the way I've done this, I've gone to Kaggle. Kaggle has these data sets. You can download them as CSV files. And then I've just uploaded that to the MySQL database so that I have some sample data, which I can play around with and show you this demo. So that's my MySQL workbench, and that's my database, right? So I have this COVID-19 database with this table and all these different columns over here. So if I was just run this query now, it's going to show me that, right? So what I'm querying here is to show me the country and the vaccines from this table where the country is. So people who are here in the UAE know that in UAE, we've been using all types of vaccines, Pfizer, Sinopharm, Oxford, AstraZeneca, and even the Sinopharm, they have different variants, like the Beijing variant and the Wuhan strain, and even Sputnik, right? So that's our database, and you saw we basically use the connection route, and that's your IP with the port number to which we will connect. Okay. Having said that, let's now move to the AWS console. Yeah. So can you see the AWS console?
Yes, yes.
Like that. So first, as we saw in the picture here, okay, we'll go to Glue, then we'll run the crawler, and then we'll populate the data catalog, and then we'll run a ETL job and transform the data, run another catalog, and then we'll go into Athena and QuickSight. Yeah. So let's go to Glue. So I am no expert on this, but because things are so easy on the AWS side, I just follow these tutorials. So I was able to add the crawler, and as you can see, I have two crawlers. First one is basically to fetch the data from the JDBC connection, right? And then the second step is basically to run the job, which basically transforms as you can see, that it transforms the data to parakeet format, and it's all wizard driven. You don't really have to know all the scripting. Like I for sure don't know anything. I don't know a lot of Python and all that, but you can see that it is so easy to get this done. This is all wizard driven, and it does all this by its own. So even somebody who doesn't know this very well can just run these scripts, and it's easy to do. Once this is done, then you have another crawler basically that is fetching the data and then transforming it and putting it to the S3 bucket, from where we will create the tables like this one, for example. And once you click on the actions, you can go and view the data, which basically brings you to Athena. And I'll show you the JDBC connections that we've done. So that's the JDBC connection that we have. So as you can see, it's that format. You select the VPC and everything. And yeah, very importantly, I wanted to touch on that. Uh, let me show you the VPC setup. So in my account, this is my account. I have this VPC. So I've created a new VPC and I call it the connected VPC. And this is where I'm running all the stuff that you see today. And this is connected to the SDDC using a transit gateway, right, which is shared by the SDDC admins with me. So I have a transit gateway attachment that I've created, and that's how I'm connected to that VPC, which is running the SDDC. So you see, it's all on the backbone, and it's not leaving the AWS backbone, and it's easy for us to see this and run this thing. Yeah. In normal environment, because this is my lab and this is how it is structured, in normal environment, you will have what we call as the network interfaces, the ENIs, and this is how we will hook it into that. So when you create the SDDC, you saw we selected the account on which you will connect it to, and the cloud formation template will go and do all those things in the background for you. So let's come back to the glue. You basically have this security group and everything. So in my case, it's pretty open, right? So there is one security group. I know it's not the best practice for sure, where everything is open, right? And the same goes for the NACLs and everything like that. So in your environment, you'll obviously have stuff to control the inbound and outbound, but because this is my lab, I've kept everything as open. So in the Glue console, this is what you will do, right? And you basically can run the ETL job, which I've already run. As you can see, it doesn't take a long time to do that. So if I run this job now, it's going to run this and basically populate the S3 bucket where the data is actually stored. Right? So you can see that it's running. It takes around 1 minute. The execution time is roughly around that. So while this is running, are there any questions?
I think we can go on. Can have
Okay.
like 5 minutes at the end for questions.
Sure. Yeah. So while this is running, we can go to the quick site. So, I already have the analysis created. So it's easy again to build the analysis. What you can do is, sorry, let me show you this as well before we go. So if I click on view data, Athena. Right, so you see here, I can run normal queries on this, and I can run a bit more complicated queries as well, like select. So yeah, so that's some data that we can see now, right? So you can see it's giving me all the, I mean, definitely there's a lot of stuff that maybe I'm missing, like, I can go and clean this data to eliminate duplicates. And, those are stuff that, somebody who is more well versed with this will be able to do. But I think just for the purpose of this demo, you're able to see, like, we only took the data as is, we run some jobs, and then now we are able to extract the data from this bucket that we have, right, which was in a SQL format. Now, it's sitting in a S3 bucket, not even a database, and we are able to bring some data out of that. So once we have this, then we can go to QuickSight and we say we can either create a new analysis, which basically is as simple as selecting the data set that we have created. Like this is my data set, for example, right? And I can say, refresh now, or, to do a full refresh. And then I just create analysis, but I'll not do that because I already have the analysis done. So we'll go to the analysis, and then we can see how, we can use simple queries to basically, get some nice dashboards going, right? So I have this count of country by vaccines, and you can see that these are the different types of vaccine. As I said again, right, there's so much more you can do with each one of these tools that, like, you can get some insights. You can create filters to just see what you want to see, and change the themes on this to something else to make it more colorful, right? And yeah, so that's basically what I wanted to show you guys today. I hope it was useful, and now you see how we can use data sitting on VMware and integrate that with the native service, like the analytical service that we have on AWS.